Guys, again, the scenario is my PCs are not able to ping each other. I don't know why. Ever since I brought me being the customer, I brought my switches up. They first were able to ping, but out of nowhere, they just stopped being able to ping. So I'm reaching out to you guys, since you guys set up my network, to help me troubleshoot this.
So let me just clarify.
Again,
so they were able to ping.
Jermaine and Claude, if you guys senior, you guys are the engineers. Jermaine is going to probably go ahead and tell you guys to go on certain switches to go ahead and troubleshoot it.
Hey,
Jermaine. To PC now.
Oh, he jumped. Hey, Jermaine. Oh, he jumping on audio. Never mind.
Yeah, give him 1 second.
Gotcha.
All right, fellas, can you hear me?
Can hear you. Hey, Jermaine, quick question for you, right?
Yeah.
So just to confirm, the PCs were able to ping before the switches came up, or the PCs were able to ping after? So which one? I'm not sure which one it was.
That's a good question. So, Mr. Customer, can you point out to us source and destination that we're testing with?
Sure. The source is 10.10.40.
10.10.40.
.50, and the destination is 10.10.40.100.
10.10.40.100.
Are questions permitted from anyone during this troubleshooting session?
Say that again.
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free.
Okay. So this is PC1 and PC2. Am I getting that we're troubleshooting here? They're not able to ping each other?
Yeah. PC1 and the PC2, they were able to ping each other.
Oh wow, they're on opposite ends of the topology. So they're not even on the same physical access layer switch.
Yeah, they're on two sides at the bottom.
Right. So that's fine, right, guys? So one, as you can see from what he told us, right, we got 10.10.40.50 last octet, 10.10.40.100. Yep. So they're within the same subnet, right? So don't really look at the fact that, right, it's clear across town. It's within the same subnet. So one, based on that, right, we want to look at what? More than likely they're within the same what? VLAN, right?
Same VLAN.
Exactly. So what we'd want to do is follow that path, right? Or we one, what VLAN is that?
So
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so will we run a command to kind of see where that command or that connection falls off at, depending on which switches are up? Like once we actually try to run a command to see exactly how far that gets before it.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're thinking more of like how you would do a trace route, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Trace route, and then see where it drops out. You troubleshooting techniques, right?
Now that's a good idea. How do we get access, Mr. Customer? If we all have access, if you want to log into each device, is that how it works?
Sure. So, yep, I can give you access. I would go ahead and give you control of my screen. So just let me know who I need to give control to.
I know I'm access SW1, so switch 1.
Who has? So we designated engineers to specific switches, I guess. Okay, so who has access to switch 5 then?
And Jermaine and fellas, just to let you know, I'm an irate customer, so we don't care about assignment.
Okay, we just trying to get it. No worries. Okay. All right.
So I'm calling you guys to fix my issue.
All right, no problem. All right, so let's go ahead and get control. Can you give us access to? Let's go ahead and start from the source, right? So seeing that PC1 is connected to access layer switch 5, can we get access to that?
Sure. Let me go ahead and set that up for you.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Akeem.
I seen the log, the CLI was saying, or the status message was saying Q is full. Is that you got tail dropping happening?
I don't know. I'm just a customer. What do you guys think?
We can take a look at that. Let's follow that path.
Cool.
All right, so here is switch 5, guys. All right, so we got access to switch 5. Let's make sure we from a layer 2 standpoint, right? We're learning that PC, right? So first thing, what do you guys want to? What command do you think we should run?
Jermaine, you got access to my.
I got access, so if I go ahead and run, all right, sweet. All right,
First,
so,
I would ping it. I would ping the source. I mean, ping to the destination switch just to verify that he's not able to ping that device.
Okay, so we're thinking, okay, maybe the PC cannot reach the other PC, but can the switch? All right, so for the switch to be able to reach it, right, we would want to confirm if it has a route to it, or 2, does it have an SVI, right? So I would say let's do a show IP interface brief, see what we have.
Okay.
Exclude anything unassigned, see what we see there. So, okay, so based on this, we're seeing that it's all layer 2, right? Right,
That's
so we
right.
have no SVI, right? All right, so based on his topology, we're seeing this gig 02 that his PC is connected to. So let's see what we're learning, right? See if we're even learning if that port is even down or up, right? So
is it configured?
Good catch. So let's see, right? So 1, is it connected?
Jermaine, hold on.
Yeah.
All right, I just had to let Claude in. Go ahead. Let me let somebody else in too.
Go ahead.
There you go. All right, Jermaine, you got control.
All right, so here we go, right? So 1, let's see if that interface is up, right? So show interface, what is it, gig 02?
Yeah, gig 02.
Connected, right, guys?
Right.
All right, so we know it's plugged in. Someone said, how is it configured, right? So let's do a show run on that then, right? So what are we seeing here?
Negotiations are auto, so it's not configured.
Well, right, exactly. What are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking that it's not configured. It doesn't show if it's up or down. It just shows auto. So
that's got nothing on it.
Does the PC even have an IP on it?
No, it don't look like it.
That's what
gig 02 though, right? So what does that say?
We don't need
it's
an
connected. It's full.
Right. So based on that, right, we're seeing that he's using what?
Native VLAN.
Exactly. VLAN 1, right? So it's fine.
So what VLAN is the other PC on is the other question.
Good catch. We're gonna try and figure that out, right? So
there are no configurations whatsoever on that 02 gig 02 interface for that PC1.
Well, that's the thing though, right? It is a configuration, right? It's native, it's VLAN 1. So maybe 10.10.40.50 is VLAN 1. We're not sure yet. Don't rule it out as, hey, it's not configured. That's your issue.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Can it ping itself? Did we try to have PC1 ping itself?
So we're thinking we want to see if PC1 can ping itself. So we're thinking maybe it's an issue on the PC itself.
So sometimes I like to rule out. Yeah, sometimes I like to rule out that it's not a workstation.
Let's see if that thing's got an IP.
Its network card is.
I see what you're saying. Maybe, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, so maybe the PC has an issue getting an IP address, or right, maybe it was the NIC was changed with a static IP of a different subnet. Or
yeah, we're probably going into the weeds, but it might help to just kind of rule it out, so we're not worried about that.
Definitely would ease my mind.
Well, let me ask you guys that question, because that would be my basic troubleshooting technique. Is that good or not good?
I would say that's very good.
Yeah, my mic dropped. I'm back in. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so yeah, that's a good catch. But let's see if we're even learning. Okay, are we driving?
There you go, Jack. Just in case you needed a PC1.
All right, sweet. Here's PC1.
And this is just a VPC, so you can just do like a show IP or what have you, whatever you need to do.
Show IP.
IP subnet mask.
It's got an IP. Where's it getting it from? If it's in the native
Yeah,
VLAN,
I was about to ask that question. Where is he getting from? Where's the
yeah, I would definitely go to the switch that
Yeah, because it's connected to switch 5, right? So it's
oh, that layer 3 switch, the distro SW20, where it's connected. Well, no, it's connected to the other distro, but I would definitely check those other switches to see if they have any sub interfaces or the inner VLAN. Well, I don't need to because it's layer 3, but what VLANs possibly is supposed to be in.
You could manually configure an IP on a workstation.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all good. Yeah, that's definitely an option too. What do you guys think about looking at this MAC address, right? Seeing that it's so far we know is that interface configured with a certain VLAN, or is it just moving across VLAN 1, right? With based on that, right, we know that it's passing that frame on what layer 2, right? So we're learning, we're passing traffic based on what?
The MAC address.
MAC address to that layer 2 switch.
All right, cool. So let's see if we're even learning 691A.
So let me ask this real quick. So could possibly, just a thought, the configurations that were configured with the topology before, could any of those configurations affect why those two aren't communicating with each other?
Repeat that again, Brian.
So the configurations that were done before the PCs were added, would that possibly affect anything?
Yeah, any changes, that's a good catch, right? Any changes that a customer has done could affect, right, the way this packet or this frame is being passed across this network, right? We could ask the customer, hey, were there any changes recently? When was the last time it was working? That's a good catch, Brian. Just to get more information from the customer. Hey, when was the last time it worked? Was there an update done? Were there any changes made on the network? What device? Hey, let's ask the customer that. Hey,
Because
I like that.
Because one thing I think I caught that when I was listening to the customer talk to you before was that the PCs were working. I mean, they were able to ping each other before the switches came up. So, which is one of the questions why I was asking if what happened or what changed if they were able to ping each other before, and now they're not able to ping each other. What happened in that?
What happened then? What happened between that
time span, or what changed?
It's a good question. Let's go ask the customer, see what if he can shed some light on that.
Got another question too, based on that web address in there. So I'm a little confused here as far as the web address, the IP address. It shows a mask of 24, and it shows the gateway that looks like a sub mask. So you can have a gateway as a sub mask.
I didn't even see that.
So let me jump in here. Let me jump in here. So that is just a VPCS Linux thing. So this is just with the PC. That's just a subnet mask. Don't get too tied up on too many details. Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. Okay.
Let's roll.
All right. Cool.
No, all good. I'm back to being a customer.
All right. So do you want to ask that question to the customer?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and ask that customer? All right. So Brian.
So, Mr. Customer, we wanted to make sure of we understand that the PCs were able to ping each other at one point. We want to know if after that was from the point of which they could ping each other and the point at which they couldn't ping each other, what happened in between that time span, or what changes were made?
I don't know. I just plugged it into the switch, like you guys said, our live session.
So when you plugged it in, you were able to ping before?
Yep. Yeah, I was able to ping. Worked all fine. Came in this morning, stopped working.
Okay.
Oh, we got something blocking.
Right. So let's figure it out, guys. So like the customer said, right? Let's not get tied up on the gateway. That's more likely a VPC thing, right? So we know IP is .50/24. We know the MAC address, right? 681A.
It sounds like an update or something happened.
One.
It stopped working overnight.
He said
That could be it too. So let's take a look at it and see. Let's follow this path, right? We learned MAC address on what? On Ingress, right? So we should potentially learn this 681A, right? On the switch 5.
It'll show MAC address table.
Yes.
Nice.
You said the switch was new or got unplugged?
Nope,
Customer,
the switch never got unplugged. Never got unplugged. Just plugged in a PC to it.
you just plugged in a PC to it.
It's not learning the MAC address.
Now learn the MAC, right?
Well, don't you got a generation traffic? Like pinging it?
Is this port security on it?
Oh, sorry, I was gonna ask some question.
That's a good question, though, right? So with let's do a shut on this interface, right? That would generate some traffic, right? Because by default, that PC will do a broadcast for what's that, DHCP and CDP as well, right? So that should at least generate some traffic, right? So let's see. Is that okay, Mr. Customer, if we do a shut on this interface?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Let's do it. Just don't bring down my network. We have some executives in the office. So
I was just
Understood.
gonna ask, is it gonna affect anybody else?
Yeah,
while we're going
understood.
over this?
Yep. And what we'll be doing is just the interface directly connected to this PC is what we'll be doing a shut on, right? So it should not affect your production.
Okay, perfect. And if you guys can just communicate what changes or anything that you're doing prior to doing it, that'd be great.
Will do. All right, so currently what we're doing, we're going to bounce this interface that PC1 is connected to. See if we can generate some traffic,
Okay.
see if we can learn this MAC address.
Sounds good.
All right.
So I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So can the PC ping distro switch 19?
So that's a good question, Brian. So for PC to be able to ping distro 19, what does distro 19 has to have?
Gotta have IP on that
We have to
subnet.
confirm if it has an IP on one, right? If it's in the same subnet or right, stuff like that. So we can definitely take a look at that and see.
And
Yeah,
one
that
other
would-
thing before we make any other changes.
Yeah.
Can we
no-
screenshot like the changes that are being made as we go? That way we're kind of able to keep screenshots in the what is this thing called? In the actual room, the lab project room.
That's something
I'm
we can do.
gonna take a step away. I'm gonna take a step away from being the
Yeah.
customer. Brian, that is a fucking excellent idea.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
here's the reason why. Any changes, and Claude, taught me about this when I was on TAC or what have you, and he just reminded me about it most recently. Any changes you guys are doing, and if we're trying to see what path, our frames or packets are taken within our either layer 2 or layer 3 topology, we want to make sure any changes that's happening on the MAC address table or the IP routing table, we're seeing those change whenever we're making those changes. But how would you track it if you're just doing it on the fly? What if PuTTY crashes? How do we know about those changes, right? And so what you want to always do is go ahead, keep it simple. I'm going to just do screenshots. Keep it as that. Simple as that. Brian, some good stuff. So Brian, if you want to take screenshots from your PC, post in the lab project folder, that's awesome.
Perfect, I got you. Hey, Jermaine, can we scroll back up a little bit to get that shut, no shut?
Me one sec. Can you make this bigger? Yes, we can.
There you go.
Blocking. I repeat, it's blocking.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Blocking
just jumped out of
version.
me to me, right? So what's that? Gig 0,
G01. So it's stopping
gig
that switch
01.
going to the distro.
Where did you see that? I missed that. Where is?
It's in that last line blocking
Me too, I missed
G01.
it.
Oh, there it is, right there. Okay.
Let's take a look at that, right? So
So the device 1 is distro switch 19. Then core switch building number 1. Then crossover to switch building number 2. So when it comes to like it running from part to part, seeing exactly where the issue lies at.
right. So from what we're seeing here, right? Looking at this output, we're seeing the root bridge is upstream off of gig 01, right? Which from what we're seeing on the topology is going up distro switch 19. Right? They're all forwarding. The path will be that route.
Hey, it's me being the customer. Can you tell me what that error message means that you guys seen? I don't know anything about switches or anything like that.
So can you do type show log?
Hey, can you tell me what you're looking at?
Yeah, so what we want to do, we're looking at the logs that are being generated on this switch, just to see if we can get a better insight on this switch
So
to assist us.
did you hear my last question?
Oh, that error. He needs confirmation of
Oh,
what
he needs
last
what
error
that
mode.
what that error is.
Just looking at that.
Span tree, span tree 7 block. Let me look at that.
You guys go ahead and look that one up.
I was wondering if you can verify if
So keep hitting the space bar on your thing real quick too.
So I'm gonna step out from being the customer in a second, for a second. So guys, whenever you're troubleshooting, always assume your customer doesn't know what he's looking at. So whenever something like this pops up and you guys are both looking at your command line, explain what it is. Even if you don't know, just take a pause, look it up real quick and Google, perfectly fine. Or revert back to your notes or just from your memory if you've done it long enough and explain what that is, right? So what the customer did, he clearly asked a question and it was overlooked by just entering another command, right? So yeah, so just remember, just, you don't, even though, we're having network issues, it's okay to slow down the process. The customer is not rushing you. He just wants it fixed, okay?
Gotcha. So it says that error message is due to the specified interface that has an inconsistent port type and is being held in a spanning tree blocking state until the port type inconsistency is resolved.
So what does that mean?
Say that again.
So what does that mean? If you could explain it to me, sir.
Hold on, give me one. Hold on.
Yeah, so port type. So we're looking into that, Mr. Customer.
And guys, let me take a break from being the customer. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. So it doesn't have to be just Brian answer it. If somebody, you guys can discuss amongst yourselves.
I was thinking that you would go to gigabit interface gigabit 0/1 to verify that that port is set up as a trunk port instead of an access port.
Good catch. Take a look.
Good stuff.
So, and it's also saying show interface fast Ethernet or gigabit switch port command on the listed interface and the interface up to which it is connected to verify they have the same mode access or trunk.
Right. So let's see how this interface is configured, right? The type of configuration, right? So we're seeing that gig 01 is what? It's not trunk, right? It's, as we saw before, right? It's what? Just native 1, right?
Yes, it's not tagged.
Right, exactly. All right. Let's take a look at, however, and that's what we're getting the error on. So, and going back to showing spanning tree to find our root port or to find our root bridge.
Can we do the show interface G01?
Seeing that that's the path it's going to take to get to our root. Say it again. I'm sorry, Brian.
Saying, can we do the show interface G01 and then access port? I think keep hitting the space bar. Yeah.
Go ahead. Which command?
Show interface G01. Hit space bar.
All right, let's go ahead and see how gig 1.3 is configured. That's directly connected down to our access switch 5. All right, Mr. Customer, we're going to go ahead and log into switch 19 just to compare configuration on this directly connected link, gig 1.3.
Sounds good.
All right, cool.
Sounds good. And with the changes, did you guys take screenshots?
Absolutely.
All right, sweet. Keem did.
Okay, perfect. And did we also confirm if any changes happened with the pings? I know you guys made a couple changes that might have fixed it. Can you guys check that for me?
So we're pinging 10.10.40.50 and then 10.10.40.100, right? What those
I think I provided you guys the source and destination.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
okay,
source
cool.
is .50 and destination is .100.
.100, gotcha.
Yeah, let's take a look. Not reachable.
Not reachable.
You gotta check the switch port type.
Yep. Yep. Let's go ahead and take a look at that distro 19. Oh my.
Would you?
Is it possible to do trace route on a VPC? I don't know if we tried that.
Can we do show interface status on that one?
A question for the customer. Doesn't seem like I have access on switch 19. Is there?
Oh, you should. Hold on.
Good.
Because so if we did like the show interface status on this one, we can find a port to see if it's a trunk or not.
Or not. Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Or we could do a show run on that as well too.
Can you enter the command show interface gig 01 switch port?
For the access switch 5?
Yes.
All right, what's that? Let me see if I can get access to 19 for some reason.
Well, I will also just be curious to see the VLANs on switch 19.
Okay.
And the IP addresses.
Okay. We can certainly look at that.
Because that status may be the key to it.
Yeah, I think the other thing, right, is right in the documentation, it says network 10.10.x.y. X is the VLAN. So if that access switch, that switch port gig 02 isn't even set up for VLAN.
Maybe. Okay. That's a good catch. VLAN 10. Well, is
it'd
it 40? Is the third octet? Is the third octet? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So facilities. Okay. That's a good catch too.
I'm thinking.
So we're thinking maybe.
Why would the PC be in VLAN 1?
It's a good catch too. Yep. Maybe that's what it is.
Hey, Mr. Jermaine. So
yes.
yeah, we're not out of nowhere. We're seeing distro switch 19. It's popping this error. Can you tell me what this means?
It means we're almost solving the problem.
Me sick. Let me take a look and see.
Yeah, can somebody explain what that means?
Hold on, I'm checking now. Hold on.
You got a spanning tree loop.
Which one? That one.
That thing took me to Python.
Wow.
I'm like, yo, what is going on here? I'm bluffing the customer. What's happening right now?
Hey, Mr. Jermaine, do you want to just look at another switch while we're waiting?
Sure, we can.
Okay. You want to look at
let's work from the other side.
Yeah, let's see. That's a good catch. Let's start from the other side. Like Anthony
let me
stated.
ask this: what all are there any switches on, or are we only working with the distro 19 and access? Sorry, the switch 5 and the computer. Are those the only 3 that are pretty much on, or are there any other ones that are on that could be affecting this?
So that's a good question, Brian. But that's on us to figure that out, right? Customers just he could.
Oh no, I wasn't asking him. I was
okay. You just general. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, and then, gentlemen, I just got a question. Just again, going back to the basic troubleshooting techniques that I was told that we usually start at the source and just kind of work our way to it, or you divide it in segments and troubleshoot. Is that still good practice?
Absolutely. Piece by hit it section by section. Kind of walk it up. Yep, device by device. That's good.
OSI, yeah, an OSI model, bro.
Right. Okay.
It's in the CCNA. It's in your CompTIA, bro. Whatever you study. I'm taking a break from being a customer. And just to point out, Jermaine was giving you guys hints the entire time. Hey, let's look at the MAC address. Hey, let's see if it's connected. I know some of you guys were just like, hey, let's go ahead and just jump into checking the switches before you do any of that, right? Because the customer was giving you a hint. Hey, I want you in my devices, but I don't want you in my devices, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to feel the temperature of the customer and be like, all right, cool. Let me take my sweet time. To the customer, even though he's giving you grief, he's not rushing you to fix his issue because you know it's going to be a lot.
Okay.
So, yeah, Glenn, 100%. OSI model, take it slow, check each device, boom, and then go from there.
All right.
If we're gonna do it like that, and we're gonna start, from we started on one, and the first issue that we noticed was why wasn't interface gigabit 0/2 even learning PC1's MAC address. Mm-hmm. So would we just continue to troubleshoot there first, or will we still continue to check the other switches?
That's good. Are you asking me? You telling me?
No, I'm talking amongst the team now.
No, that's a good catch, right? Mm-hmm.
I mean, because regardless if we correct a lot of those other issues, if gigabit 0/2 is not even learning
that MAC
address, we will
exactly.
Nice, Kelvin.
That's what I was waiting for. Good shit, Kelvin. That's exactly what I was waiting for.
Another thing I was looking for. Go ahead.
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. Before we even looked at any of the switches, any of the distribution layer switches, did the access layer learn the MAC address of the PC? And Jermaine kept giving you guys hints like, hey, let's check it. No, let's jump to the distro. Take it slow. Fundamentals. Did it learn the MAC address? Perfect. Great. So the switch performed one of the 3 major functions that it's supposed to perform, and it learned the MAC address of that PC that's connected to it. So good shit, Calvin. Go ahead, let's keep rolling.
So one question I had, this error message, I'm intrigued by this a little bit because it keeps popping up over here. So
this load meter, right?
Yeah, that's what I keep looking at.
Yeah.
But when I looked up that load meter, it's basically saying that Basically, it displays information active processes, but one of the other things that I'm looking at on here, high CPU utilization. CPU utilization is one of the things that popped up several times looking up that the last part of that, because I mean, of course, you're not going to type all those numbers in between because it's the same thing, but the end of it says CPU hog. Looking at that, a lot of them is just saying high CPU usage. Is that something that could be a issue as to why we're getting that error message on the distro?
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
So that's one of the things we kind of, I would say, since we're this is like right in front of us, that one of the things I would say look at to kind of see how we can get rid of that error message to actually make progress and move to actually type in other commands, because right now it's stopping us from using.
Excellent, good catch. So, right, what would you explain as the engineer, right? You being the delivery engineer that I hired from being the partner, right, to deliver my services. What would you recommend if you can't even get into PuTTY and put any commands? What would you tell me as the customer to resolve this? Because let's not say they're even PCs, right? Those are two of my servers. They're unable to ping each other, right? They're part of the same force. I need this fixed. What would you recommend if you can't even put a command within the switch? Anybody help them out. Brian, if you even see it, Google, I don't care. What do you guys think? And then we'll talk about, proper process moving forward.
If the configuration is saved, would you have them restart the device?
Is that what you're telling me, or you're just asking me?
I mean, what else can they possibly do? I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could see if you can get someone on site. Maybe there's an issue over SSH versus console.
I think I found the issue.
Excellent.
I think this is a software issue.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at Cisco right now, one of the CCIE people who from there basically says that tracebacks indicate a problem usually in software, and Cisco uses these codes with the developers to identify issues exactly. They're not available to the public. You don't upgrade and try to see if it fixes it or open a case with TAC and see exactly what the traceback is. So that code actually, that's a code. Like all of those lines, are we able to copy that trait from traceback all the way to the last end of that code?
Yeah.
Because what it's showing here is that could be the issue, and it's all looking like a actual software issue.
Excellent.
That's a good catch, man.
You know what, Brian? A lot of times in the real world, they'll call that a crash dump. And those crash dumps will have all those hexadecimal combinations in there. And TAC has a if I remember correctly, TAC has a tool where you can take that file and pretty much drag it into it, and it will analyze it and kind of give you in layman's terms what all the hexadecimal garbage is telling you.
Right. That's what this is. That's exactly what this document is saying.
Okay. I know I've never been in a TAC situation, but I do know I've actually had, as a matter of fact, I think I have a snapshot I can send you where I actually had one of my actual routers at the house do a dump like that. And I know that it creates a file in Flash, or at least on actual gear, it creates a file in Flash. And, you take that file and you submit it into that tool that they have.
So how are we able to determine or check to see the version of both of these PCs or the software version? Because that goes back to the very beginning of what this goes back to the very beginning of when everything started. You said when you plugged it up,
So-
the PCs were able to ping, but then when you got back the next day, everything was out, which something had to happen overnight.
So hold on. So you're still thinking as if these are actual Windows and Linux PCs.
Oh,
They're
gotcha.
not. They're not. They're not. Okay. So they're just simple Linux code-based virtual PCs, dummy that they're just able to just ping. That's it, and do other stuff. No OS, no,
Oh no,
other stuff on top of it.
not for the PCs. I'm saying the distro, because the issue with this code is running on the distro. So I'm saying I didn't mean to say the PCs.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
mean, yeah, I didn't mean to say the PCs. Sorry, because the issue is on the distro 19 switch is where this code is populated. So I'm thinking something may have updated, which going based off this, checking the version of those. Well, I mean, sorry.
Look at all those processes coming.
It's different ones.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it
get to
says
this.
hog.
It's maxing out the CPU, which is preventing us from,
And I'm gonna get to this, right? So Glenn said it earlier, and I don't think anybody heard him, right? So there was an error on switch 5. Anybody take a look at that and compare it to switch 20 or switch 19?
Nope.
Right. The configuration for, that's where we were going though, right? I think we couldn't get into switch 19.
Yeah.
Because
of,
okay. So, and keep following me here, right? So I'm going to ask a random person a question. Anthony, let's say randomly, right? Let's say our topology has a spanning tree loop, right? What's the effect of a loop within a topology? What happens to that box, to that switch, whenever it's involved within a loop?
So basically, that can actually bring. Oh, did you say Angelo?
No, Anthony, Sylvester.
I mean, if you have spanning tree in place, ideally, there would be no loop. If you don't have spanning tree in place, that's a lot of software utilization on the box, cause it to crash.
I got another solution behind that too, that I guess from what I just looked up. It's prior to bringing a redundant link switch back online. So basically taking it offline, implementing layer 2 safeguards designed to protect against spanning tree loops, and then mitigate the impact if one does occur.
But did you identify already that there's a loop already happening?
No, that will be the first. Well, before that, just looking before you do that.
Okay. No, you're on the right track. I'm glad you said that. You're on the right track. But if I'm the customer and we're looking at our switch now, and you guys can't even put a command within PuTTY, what is
tell them to pull the truck switch, the truck cable.
Would you go in back off the back side of it? Like, say for instance, instead of having it pulled up, like go in from a different angle? As opposed to directly going through that switch, that distro switch?
What do you mean? Talking about remoting in, or are you talking about connecting it to console?
Yeah, like something like remoting in. I don't know if that's possible.
Right, okay. Yeah, you can SSH if it had an IP address. But remember, our last session, right? This is strictly, right? These are 2 buildings, and it's just a layer 2 topology, right? So we have no IPs, no management IPs on our switches, because you guys are still deploying my network, right?
Well, we're just doing with layer 2.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So typically, whenever we're in this space, and let's assume, right, we're inside the switches, we're consoled in, and we still can't even get to the console. We can't, plug in no commands. Claude, what would you do to go ahead and resolve this? Can't plug in no commands. What would you tell the customer to do?
So I would probably be looking to break that physical connection and isolate the devices themselves.
The gig 01.
Is that that shit's so small? Whatever.
Going from
From
switch 5
switch
to switch
5 to
19?
19.
Those
Yeah,
Coke bottles
Okay.
again.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I would physically break that and look at switch 5. Look at switch 5 by itself.
Okay.
You know.
So that's a good catch.
Can we do like a show spanning tree detail?
On which
Yeah, we can do. Well, on which box? I'm sorry, Dave. On which box?
I think switch 5.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
All right, so let's go back.
See if there is one a loop in play possibly.
So Brian, what do you gain to achieve from entering that command?
Basically seeing if there is a spanning tree loop.
Is that what that command will tell you?
Let me see, because I'm researching as we doing this too.
It will not. It will not.
Okay.
It won't. It won't. Okay. So typically what in that command, what it'll tell you the main thing, right? Just, off the cuff, it'll tell you if TCNs are generated. So that's a great command to take a look at. And it's some other great things that's within that. Right?
Now what that command that Brian just said, what it will do is it'll tell him something about BPDUs.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That ties to the last thing that I was just looking at, because these two articles, am I on Cisco sites? I am. Yeah, that last article I was on actually attaches to this same one, and they both kind of go hand in hand.
Right. So, Jermaine.
Yep. Let's go ahead and
another customer role.
Yep, no problem. Let's head back over to switch 5 then.
Go ahead and because I know we're coming up on time. I want you to just go ahead and reboot these switches 20 and 19.
Clear CPU.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead and
how do you do it from? Okay.
Got a question about, I guess branching off Brian. I think it was Brian that mentioned a command that could potentially indicate if a loop was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a command that can actually do that? As far as I understand, typically, yes.
So there's not, right? And here's where you have to use, one, your wit, two, the commands that you learned and what to look for, right? Within your reading and your studying and what have you. What indicates, topology changes? What indicates, what error codes are we seeing within the show spanning tree command, right? What are we supposed to see? What looks normal, right? It's not going to tell you it's a loop. Why would it? Because the code is supposed to be perfect, right? In the perfect world, right? It's not going to tell you it's a loop, but it is going to tell you some error codes. Hey, something isn't right, but I'm not going to tell you it's a loop. Right? And so that's why you lab it up, you test it, you see what it looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the beans. What I did prior to you guys jumping in, me not being a customer, I went ahead and put BPDU filter on the port channel interfaces between distro switch 20 and distro switch 19.
So I'm reading something. Go ahead.
And I went ahead and assigned them. I assigned for them to both be the root.
So coming back to PC1, is PC1 VLAN 40 or are we passing on VLAN 1? That part I missed.
Check it.
Did you already clear it? Let's go ahead and go back to that guy.
And then I didn't see anybody check switch 16 to see if it was on the same VLAN as well. Hold on, Jeff.
Good.
Let somebody else, like Brennan. No, it's all good. It's all good. Go ahead. So those are things you want to check, right? You get that source, and you got your destination.
This is definitely getting fun to learn.
Jay, you think you got to generate some pings from PC1?
Yeah.
Probably the MAC address table went ahead and dropped it.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
From a security standpoint, I would usually be so lost.
You said what happened?
I said from a security standpoint, I'd be looking at this like, what?
No, it's all good. It's all good, right? But this is why, right? We're trying to help you and trying to help other people that's jumping into cybersecurity, right? Because my theory, right? How can you secure something if you don't know how traffic passes through your network?
Right.
If you don't know how behavior happens, right? And this is what happens, right? To go off on a tangent with Log4j. If you don't know what Log4j does in the background, whenever your logs are being sent to your syslog server, you don't know what's happening. So you have to know how your network works before you can secure it. So this is why we're doing the labs. This is why we're doing everything and what have you. Jay, what have you?
Hey Dave, how do you bring PC1 up?
Oh, let me 1 second. Let's pop that.
Looking at the notation over there, is the native VLAN supposed to be 10? So the PC is definitely not in the right VLAN? Maybe.
Find out.
That's possible. Pulling it back up for you guys. 1 second. This was good, guys. This was good.
Got me stumped, bro. I want you to send me this. I mean, it might be up tonight.
so my bad, I didn't give you guys background about the command that I put in. So the BPDU filter command, right? What it does, right? I enabled it on an interface only, right? You can enable it globally, but once you enable it on an interface, it prevents that interface from receiving BPDUs, right?
Is there a way to reverse it?
Yeah, you disable it, right? And so, right, just like we talked about in our last impromptu session, if you guys are listening, go ahead and go to the YouTube, right? Whenever the election process starts happening, once two switches just get plugged up to each other, right, they're going to go ahead and just start sending BPDUs to each other, because what they're doing is, as soon as they boot up, they think they're the root bridge, right? They think they're the shit, right? And so they're going to go ahead and get that BPDU from the other switch and compare it to themselves, like, hey, is this an inferior BPDU? Meaning, is their bridge ID lower than mine, or is it higher than mine? Remember what I said, right? Layer 2, typically the number has to be lower for an election process. Layer 3, the number typically has to be higher for the election process, right? And so layer 2, it has to be lower. So it's going to go ahead and see if it's lower, it's better, right? And so if it sees that it's lower, it's going to go ahead and say, hey, I'm the root bridge. If I enable BPDU filter on, let me go ahead and share my screen. BPDU filter on both my distro switches, and they're plugged to my access, right? Right? And so now what's happening, right? It's blocked between the port channel. And
Sharing,
I'm
Dave?
going to go ahead and I'm going to share in a second.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is, once I do that, now BPDUs from distro switch 20 and switch 19 are shooting down the access switch 5 saying, I'm the root bridge. Access switch 5 doesn't know who to send the traffic to. Now I'm in a loop, because BPDUs aren't being set between switch 20 and switch 19. And whatever root command that I put in between both of them, before I went ahead and configured that, they weren't even shooting each other their BPDU information. So
David, you said you put the BPDU filter on what interface now? What switch? I'm trying to follow your.
Sure. On port channel 2 on both switch 20 and switch 19.
Now you would normally put that on the distro switches and not the core.
You wouldn't put that at all. I mean, unless you have a very good reason to. Typically, spanning tree calculates itself and take care of it. I just wanted to break something. But typically, you can use it. Typically, you can put it on downlink ports, where users plug to, so that if they go ahead and come into the office, try to plug in the switch, boom, we're not getting BPDUs. You guys are not going to mess up our topology. But there's another mechanism, right, that's in place that we don't have to go ahead and set that. There's BPDU guard, there's other things, but we don't have to actually set that.
So it's mainly for end devices at down switch, like you said.
Downlink ports
Got
that
it.
are just used to connect to like phones and computers.
Got it.
You only put them on the interfaces though. They wasn't put globally. So why doesn't the access switch 5 take an ultimate path to through the distros 19 using the gigabit 2.1 or 2.0 to the core switch?
Now that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. So we have, where's my little marker? There we go. So what we have, we have a segment. We have a redundant topology, right? We have access, layer 2 redundant topology. We have 2 links, right? 2 uplinks to distro switch 20, distro switch 19. There's a link between distro switch 20 and distro switch 19. Got one big old segment right here. Right. And so if these 2 guys aren't communicating, and if we're talking about after the root bridge election is done, the non-root bridges are doing the election for the port states and roles, right? These guys, the entire segment can't even properly do that calculation because BPDUs aren't being sent between each other.
Because you have the filter on that port channel between the 2.
Exactly.
So as far as they know, because they can't exchange BPDUs, as far as they care, they are the root for that VLAN.
Exactly.
So
and
switch 5
all
is
they're
sending.
doing, switch 20 and switch 19 is just sending that BPDU saying, I'm the superior, I have the superior BPDU, or I'm the root bridge. That's what's inside their BPDU. And
Which is being sent down to switch 5.
Doesn't know what to do.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
They don't know what to do. So it's never even going to hit core switch 1 or core switch 2, right? And, I know we're getting over on time and shit like that, but another thing to consider, right? I know Jermaine said it, is, right? Did we ever check if PC2 was on that native VLAN?
Yeah, let's go check that out, man. You got me.
You got
me, bro. You got me, bro.
Can I ask a question while you're looking at that real quick? So, will this will that?
Yeah, so it's native. Show Mac.
On a side note, okay.
Yeah, it's native, right?
Yeah, native.
Yeah,
You
go
say
ahead.
native, but you can reassign
Yeah, there we go.
native VLAN.
So okay, so there we go. Do a see that we're here. Do a show Mac. Hit up pipe include that 681A.
What command was just used?
681A. Yeah. Here we go. Path of packet. Say 01. Who's 01?
Right here.
01. Yeah. Okay, so we know the path is going. We learned that MAC address off switch of PC1 on that path. So we would have jumped on. So if we had started on PC2, good shit, good stuff.
Yep, that exact command that you just ran, show spanning tree, verification to show spanning tree. That was one of the things I just looked up and show. Like one of the other ones was show spanning tree VLAN 1. Yeah,
how did you?
VLAN 1?
Go ahead, man.
That's a lot of investigation.
We got a couple more minutes, Dave.
Yeah, we got time.
We got time. Go back to access switch 5 again. Did you how do you get into PC1? Because I was clicking on it, it wasn't coming up. Is that just that's something? Okay, that's something different, right? Or do you already have it open?
Right here.
All right, do your ping.
Yeah.
Generate some traffic. Yeah, exactly. So, right. So
now what are we doing right now?
I want to generate traffic from PC1 so I can learn that MAC address on switch 5, right? That shouldn't affect.
So
what we did
switch
upstream
up and
should not
back
prevent
down?
that. My bad. Go ahead, Brad.
So we do a shut, no shut?
We could do a shut, no shut. He just generated traffic, right? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
what Jermaine was looking for, right?
6818. All right,
And
so that's what I was looking for.
If we go back to switch 16, that.
So what we did wrong was we focused on just one side and not both.
Not necessarily.
Well,
Not necessarily.
It would have played in our favor if we started from PC2 in terms of we could have followed that path and then reached, right? What is it? Switch 19, distro switch 19, and we could have troubleshot it there. As
I guess I'm
opposed to
saying just
PC1.
like jumping back and forth from side to side to kind of see what you see on this one that you don't see on the other one type of thing. So
you can do that, right? But like Glenn was saying, and Jermaine was saying, they brought up a good point, right? Take it slow and let's use the OSI model. You know, okay, cool. Layer 1's fine. It's connected. It's up. Perfect. We check that. Is it learning a MAC address? If it's not learning a MAC address, that frame is not going to be. No packs are going to be sent out.
So I think that when we first started the lab, that all we did was perform a shut and no shut on the interface, thinking it was going to generate the
traffic
instead of performing
a ping.
So,
and typically it does. Typically it automatically generates, right? Remember, this is a virtual environment, and typically if it was a Windows PC, Windows is going to go ahead and just always populate traffic. And Linux is going to populate traffic. This is just like I said, a dummy. This is just a dummy host box PC1.
Okay, so, I just wanted to make sure because
I don't be here, nigga. What the fuck? I don't look at you now. What you doing?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm just saying I wanted to make sure, just because I got a customer call tomorrow, so I just wanted to make sure.
Slap out this customer. Take case real quick.
Wow. Let's troubleshoot this thing together, man.
Yeah, let's do it real quick. So then what the loop that was in play had nothing to do with us learning the MAC address on switch 5. Right? Nope. Us thinking doing a shut no shut would have we would have received some sort of traffic to then learn the MAC address, right? That was my mistake there, right? We should have done a ping from PC1, then we would have learned it.
You could have did a ping, or like you said, you bounce the port. Bounce means you shut, no shut, right? You did the right thing because typically that works. Right?
Okay.
And so and that's how you want to take it slow, right? And as far as saying, all right, layer 1's fine, layer 2's fine, great. Packets are coming in, perfect. We're good. We're good there, right? And so then you could, of course, and I love what Brian said. Hey, can we check the other switches, right? Can we check to see if we have connections? Of course, he was asking about the IP addresses. You guys haven't assigned them yet. So one critical thing, if the customer is telling you guys to troubleshoot it, he's saying, you guys can have access to the switch as long as you guys ask for it. Don't ask the customer, or don't ask whoever you're helping to troubleshoot, does it have this, that, and the third? Go in the damn switch and run the command. That's what you learn from the CCNA and the CCNP. Get all the information you need. And like Brian was saying, and Glenn was saying, and other folks were saying, take your screenshots, run your commands, run your show commands, take your screenshots, and analyze. All right, it has this, it has that, checklist, fine, perfect. Once you run all that, then you can go ahead and, deduct a theory of, hey, this may be a possible, issue that you're having. If it doesn't work, just like the scientific method says, or the troubleshooting method says, go back to creating a whole new hypothesis of what might be the issue.
Another
Right.
question.
Go ahead.
Since,
Go ahead.
all right. So after you figured out that access switch 5 learned PC1 MAC address in gigabit 0/2, the next switch you would go up to would be the distro 19 to see if it's learning PC1's MAC address on the ingress on gigabit 1.3.
Yeah.
100%.
Or would you go up to switch 20?
20, right. So let me ask you a question. That's a good catch too, Kevin. Let me ask you a question, Dave, just to add on to that, right? So I know, and I know someone took a screenshot. I should have as well. But when we did that show spanning tree, all interfaces were in forwarded state, right?
Exactly.
While now, if you do it, we're seeing gig 01 is root. Actually, it did say root as well, but gig 00 was also forward and it wasn't blocked like it is now.
Right. Right.
That right there should have been a telltale for us.
Exactly. Because look, that one, the access layer, logically shouldn't be the root when we have two upstream switches.
Right.
But back to what you guys found. CPU was hogged, like Anthony was saying. The CPU was hogged. If it's hogged, it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's not doing any switch operation. So if both switches are in a loop and they're both hogged like we saw, access switch 1, access switch 5, from its perspective, it's the only switch within the segment.
Right.
So if we don't have anybody physically, no, we don't have anybody physically on site, like Claude was saying, you would physically break that that one of those links. Can you just shut down one of the links to stop the spanning tree loop, or do you have to physically remove that link, redundant link?
So with any broadcast storm, first thing you want to do, and that's what Claude was saying, and in my experience, from previous sysadmin roles, what have you, first you're gonna go ahead and pull the cable. Go ahead and stop.
What if no one is physically?
Right then and there.
Okay.
You're gonna pull those cables, and whenever you're troubleshooting that, you make sure somebody's on site.
Okay.
Some shit you can do remote, you're not doing that shit remote, especially if you have you're doing an upgrade on a switch, you're troubleshooting that, or you're troubleshooting anything. Have somebody on site, bro.
Okay, I was just wondering if you could just shut down that particular interface, and would that stop the broadcast storm?
You wouldn't be able to.
You can, but again, like Anthony was saying, like we just saw, the CPU is going to be hogged. You can't put in any commands.
Oh yeah, okay.
You're gonna have to.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
What can you shut down? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you now. I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, all good. So now, like I said, what Jermaine saw, so now that we went ahead and reboot the switches, now access layer switch 5 is seeing, okay, it's not the root anymore, right? And we just have our PCs on the native VLAN, which is VLAN 1. So, now it's access switch 5 is doing what it has to do. It's forwarding, it's became a trunk with both switches, right? Gigabit 0/0, 0/1. It's a trunk on both. We confirm that. We pull up the screen again, right? We confirm it's forwarding all VLANs, especially VLAN 1, and it's blocking, right, on 0/0, because again, we don't want to go ahead and have a loop like we had before, so it's blocking on that link, right? So it does that. So now,
hey Dave, quick question. How is gig 01 configured again?
Yeah, it's configured as an access port, but Jay, this is using old code, right? So between switches, it's going to go ahead and send those ISL messages, and then it's going to go ahead and dynamically create
auto negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you have, right? You didn't have no auto negotiate. That's what I was saying. What do you have configured on that interface? Gig 01.
I don't have nothing.
Nothing.
I don't have nothing. Yeah, they automatically create the trunk, and here's your indication right here. Let me go ahead and see. Right. So this end right here.
Negotiate.
Yep. I didn't configure anything. This was done. This was done manually by me. This was done manually by me.
So that's not something that's so typically you would have to go in there and configure the trunk yourself. Is it just using, I forgot the name of this program that you're using. It's not packet tracer. What, I mean, what's the name of it?
Anything by Eve.
Yeah.
Eve, yeah.
Is that something that's
right?
Is that something that Eve just does automatically, like create the trunk links between the switches?
No. So typically, right, on the again, this is running iOS code, not iOS XE. So it's running 15 code. Back in the day, switches were sending ISL messages to each other. Boom, create the link. Nowadays, the 9K switches, they're sending just straight up to 802.1q messages between each other, and they're creating that trunk dynamically again still, right? So that's still in place as well. You can go ahead and try it within a pod, run out a pod and do that yourself. But yeah, it does that too. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it still does. But all switches, typically Cisco switches, going to typically do that and run that off. But typically, it's either you can configure it or you cannot. But the one key thing that you have to remember is you or the customer can configure whatever you want. All these vendors, any company is going to let you configure whatever the hell you want. It's up to you being an engineer to configure what you need for your deployment, for your design. Don't rely so much on what the switch needs to do or what have you. The switch is going to accept commands from you.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, it would just be best practice to go ahead and manually configure those trunk links yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. 100%. Because then you have control over it. But again, I'm just a dumb customer who doesn't know anything about switches. So I just did what you guys told me and just plug stuff up.
So one thing, can we do show interface status?
Sure.
So G02 is not trunked. So let me ask you this. One of the things that I was looking up too, based off what I seen, well, just some digging around, would that be would Cisco having a default spanning tree on there have any effect on us changing it or doing anything to it? Because from what I read, it's showing that Cisco would have its own default spanning tree, but it would create its own separate spanning tree instance for every VLAN.
It will, and until you manually say, I want this switch to be primary for VLAN 10, 20, 30, and I want it to be secondary for 40, 50, 60, or whatever you may have.
Right.
And then you turn around and you take the like in this example, this would be done on the distro switch. Then you would take the other switch and you would go backwards, if I can say that right. You would go backwards. So what you set as primary on the first switch now becomes the secondary on the second switch, and what was secondary on that first switch now becomes primary on that second switch, without confusing you.
Gotcha. So
right, and I know. Hold on, Brian, and I know Cisco loves throwing out these big ass words, right? Just to be completely fucking blunt. So Brian, I'm going to challenge you, right? Do you know what the word instance means? I'm not even trying to challenge your intelligence. In the case of routing and switching, do you know what instance means in the scenario of a spanning tree?
You said, do I know?
Yes.
I think it's in the event, but I don't know if that's the same meaning when it comes to spanning tree.
What do you think it is, right? And then we'll go ahead, because this is what we're here for, to study, to go ahead and mess up here before we get into the real world. What do you think instance means?
So a separate method, like an event, like a method. So say for instance, if it says it's separate spanning tree method and a separate spanning tree instance.
Right.
So that means this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Stop looking at Google.
Oh, no. I'm not looking at that. I'm saying just like it's saying its own separate
instance,
meaning that a whole nother way of doing it, its own separate aside from what you've already assigned.
So if you're looking at show VLAN brief, how many instances do I have?
Show VLAN brief. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, now hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Are you asking them or are you telling them?
No, I'm telling you 6.
No, I wasn't going to ask Brian that, Claude. No. I'm trying to get you guys gears going, right? So, no, Brian, you're right. Right, it's and add the 4 other more VLANs to it, and that's your total number, right?
Yeah, the ones at the bottom, yeah.
An instance in the case of spanning tree, if we're not doing multiple spanning tree, that's a whole other topic. We'll have a session on that.
Okay.
If we're just doing regular spanning tree, each VLAN is an instance.
Gotcha.
Right? It's one instance of a virtual local area network that's running on that switch.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
It does. So I guess I was looking at it from the standpoint of it saying that, okay, the default is a spanning tree instance, but how you broke it down was that each one of these have their own, is an instance itself. So it's not necessarily saying, gotcha, I got you.
Hey, Dave.
Exactly. Right.
Let me jump in.
And that definition, go ahead, dude. Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
I'll wait till you finish. I want to add.
No, because I was going to say, so Brian, back to your definition. Your definition was correct. So, you know, that you found out what you came up with, right? So an instance is a default instance, right? And we look at the default VLAN. Typically, when switches right out of the box only have how many VLANs? Just one, just that one default VLAN. So it's only running one instance.
Right.
Us as engineers, admins, we add more VLANs. We're adding more instances.
Right. Gotcha.
For spanning tree to perform its function. That makes sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, it does. It makes sense.
Jay, go ahead. I need some water.
Quick question, man. Shits and giggles. Show me show run interface, that trunk interface, the negotiated one. I think it's what, gig 01?
What you said, show interface?
Show run, gig 01.
Oh, show run.
That was the
Show
trunk,
run.
right? The negotiated one.
It was a trunk.
Negotiate, yeah. So it's auto. Okay, so that's why. That's why it's a trunk.
Yeah.
You got auto on one
exactly.
side, and what do you have on the other side? Auto as well, or
Gotta be dynamic
desirable?
desirable.
Are you saying on switch 16?
No, on 19.
If you have auto on both sides, it's not gonna.
It's not going to come up, right? So he has desirable on the other side.
Nope, I don't. Look at the encapsulation. It's set to negotiate. So it's going to go ahead and send those messages regardless if it starts off as an access port, then dynamically negotiate within each other. Hey, all right, hey, let's become a trunk.
Okay.
And that's exactly what it did. Make sense?
So it's dynamic.
That's an
auto
ISL
on both
thing.
sides of that link.
Show me, yeah, exactly. Show me 19.
So you 19?
Yeah, whatever switch, show CDP neighbor and whatever interfaces gig 01 is connected to. So 1, 3.
From my understanding, if both sides are auto, it's not gonna establish a link.
I want to see it.
Right. Yeah. If we set that command, right? If we set that command, if we don't set it, it's already, Cisco already got it built in its code that it's going to negotiate between both sides.
Yeah, let me see it.
Do I have 19 pulled up?
Right
there. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's on the other side. So if we do,
we got access to the switch port trunk now.
What interface is that? 1/0. So let's do a show run interface. 1/3. That's configured as a trunk statically.
Right. But you have negotiate. Okay. Because one side is trunk and the other side is auto.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I'm with
But
you.
if I
That's what we're
didn't,
saying.
But you're saying if you
no,
if you take out switch mode trunk and leave it as negotiation auto on both sides, it will still come up.
let's do it. Hold on.
I don't
But
think
you're
it's
doing
gonna.
.1Q, not I. Okay, the encapsulation.
Hold on.
And you'll have to break that trunk too.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Yep, default there, bad boy.
And then I have
There you go.
another follow up for that instance.
But
Another
the
thing I
only
want to
time
add to that with the span tree instance.
I thought the only time that auto really made a difference is we was configuring port channels. And I know it's not a port channel between distro switch 19 and access switch 5, right?
No, I don't think there's a port channel between 5 and 19.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know. I'm a little confused about that that negotiation thing as well.
Minutes.
Yeah, but
yeah, switch to .1Q.
yeah.
But typically, right out the box, it's supposed to be negotiate. Hold on. What's that? No, hold on. Did I look at the wrong interface? Yep, I did. Hold on.
Question, and this may not be something dealing with this. For future instances, is there a way to copy configurations from one device over to another?
Yep, Claude talked about that in one of his CCMP questions of the day.
Okay. Should be took the configuration settings that work on one side and put them on the other.
Yeah, when you would just copy it to a notepad and then you could just paste it in to the switch.
Cool. So it's negotiate.
Yeah,
on
but
both sides.
what Brian's talking about is actually pushing it through the network, which yeah, instead of using a notepad, he's talking about pushing it through the network. But now you're talking layer 3 domains. Now you're talking about layer 3 arenas now when you're gonna do that.
Well, we're gonna stick with
No, don't worry, Brian. You gonna be the first one up there when
talking about DNAC and all of that.
No, basically what happens is you turn your routers into a TFTP server across the network.
Oh, okay.
And then you push it. It's just one of them basic, it's one of those basic file management lessons that you learned early in the game. You know.
I guess that's what you get for asking questions, huh?
Hey, but you know what though?
No, that was a good one. That was a good one though.
Yeah. It's always the ones that ask questions that you look at side eye in the beginning that you want to want to becoming the go-tos 6-7 months down the line.
No, that's true because they asking questions.
Yeah,
you questioning everything, right? So that's good.
I think
that's how you learn.
I guess I always thought it was a problem, but then I guess now when you're dealing with stuff like this, you don't got a choice because you be out there with a boat without a paddle because you can't ask these questions to everybody. Everybody ain't gonna have the same availability either.
So Jermaine, as soon as when I get on that customer call tomorrow and I ping you some questions.
I like how you play that. Yeah, fellas,
don't have you on speed.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Where is
it?
I'm not
Gig 01.
sure what's going on.
No, that's 19. So that's 1.3.
1.3.
Right.
Yeah,
do a show run on that again on 1.3.
Let's see. Gig 1.3. Yeah, it's set to its default setting. What I'm saying is typically it works like that. Typically it works like that, where if it's two switches connected to each other, it'll go ahead and negotiate and set up a trunk itself. Magically, like Claude would say.
Like he was saying. Show me 5 show run for 01.
I think it also depends
So,
on the
all right.
platform. 'Cause
So I'm
some
thinking
platforms are
two
dynamic
things.
or auto.
Yeah, two
Exactly.
things right here. Go back to show VLAN on, we can do switch 5. So right now they're just access link, right? It's just an access link, right? It's not a trunk link, right? So based on that, show VLAN, we have, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We would say we'd have 10 instances for spanning tree.
Yep.
All right. So if we do a show spanning tree.
So what we looked at on one of them, oh, never mind. 2 completely different ones. Never mind. Because I remember one, when we talked about instances, one has 6. Nice. And this one has 7.
Nice. Yep.
Ooh, boy, this small print. Jesus. My eyes was running for a second.
Hold up. You see that though, right? It's gig 00. Right?
VLAN 99.
You see what I'm saying, Dave?
Yeah. This is switch 5 going to switch 9.
Right.
Going to switch
So
20.
But not, I guess what I'm thinking here is, or what I'm trying to say here is, your instances, right, is not necessarily the amount of VLANs, or the instances for spanning tree is not dictated by the VLANs that you have configured on the switch, right? Alone, right? You also have to have, what is it, like a trunk interface, right? Configured.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Of course, we know, VLANs, of course, as long as they have they have one member that's part of that VLAN, it's going to be a spanning tree instance, whether it be a access port, what have you. But those other VLANs that we have, right, those are administrative VLANs. They're not going, there's nothing assigned to them. So they're not going to show up within spanning tree because they don't have a reason to be an instance at the moment. Just like for creating virtual chassis, right? If we have two boxes, we created a stack. There's a VLAN just for that. We're not going to see that VLAN within spanning tree. That's in the background.
Right.
And those are the other last 4 VLANs that we've seen. You see what I mean? So these 4, we're not going to see those.
Right. But what I'm saying is, even 1 through 99, for example, if we do a shut on gig 00, right? Now this is just
all these
nothing, and then we do a show spanning tree. There'll be no instance, right?
Except for VLAN 1,
Except for VLAN 1, right? Okay.
100%.
All right, sweet. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm still puzzled on the negotiate. Can we go to switch 5?
It's on the right.
If we go, let's go to, can we just test that real quick? If we go under interface, what was it, gig 01? And do the negotiation.
What do you want to do?
Desirable. I want to set it to desirable, just to see.
But if G01 isn't a interface not showing on this one, right?
So,
no, that's the link.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Jay. Before we do that, that's going to be another section. That's
all right, cool. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Let's not even go down that rabbit hole.
Cool.
Just like, I'm glad Anthony said it because he reminded me, even though the auto negotiation is not happening off box, again, I have seen it happen. Of course, in my home lab, physical. This is a virtual environment. Sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it won't work. Physically, I can recreate it for you, but typically that's happening.
No doubt.
That'll be another session. The goal of this was just spanning tree. How to troubleshoot it, how to identify it on a piece of paper, how to go ahead and, like we spoke to on in the last impromptu session, on a piece of paper that you just, prior to you just going in CLI, make sure on a piece of paper you know how to go ahead and converge spanning tree. What do you need to elect to the root bridge? All right, you have your root bridge elected. Now what are you doing in your non-root bridges, right? And so once you master that, and you know your commands you have, your show commands you have to run, now you know how to go ahead and troubleshoot, because back to Glenn's point, the switch is not going to tell you that there's a loop. You're going to have to look for hints and syslog messages or what have you that's indicating something isn't working as expected. Make sense?
Yeah, good stuff.
This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one, man.
Yeah,
this is a good one. Any questions, fella?
I feel a little bit smarter now.
This is some good stuff. I learned that I need to keep on practicing because this just refreshed all of my memories from the classes and stuff. But continued practice on those labs, that they help a whole lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's dude, you don't need anything big like Eve, bro. One thing which I really appreciate Claude for, bro, you can be in packet tracing running debugs.
Yeah.
Create a loop.
I still got
create a loop. Yeah, you can use that. Go ahead and be in the park, be in Starbucks, create a topology just like this, take a picture, create it just like this, configure what I configured, BPDU filter, create a loop, see what happens, right? I expect for the same thing to happen, right? And so what would you do, right? And you know, you do the same things, right? But before you even get to that, you get to the CLI, just like Claude was saying, and even before me and Claude, man, I was doing this, and Claude was doing this, is you make sure you fully understand what spanning tree is actually doing in the background prior to you trying to troubleshoot it via just show commands. Because if you don't know what it's doing in the background, you know, just for that knowledge gap, you may miss some things during your troubleshooting, or maybe, and Jermaine even caught me on this. I had to call in Jermaine sometimes whenever I'll be working cases, is that I may have looked for too much information when I only needed a certain amount of information. I know, and you know,
No such thing as too much information. Give me all that. Nah, but good shit. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, good stuff. So fellas, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. I know we went over time. I do apologize about that. I'll go ahead and post the recording on YouTube. And see you guys next week.
Good stuff.
Bro, I don't ever mind going over time. This is fun.
Yeah, most definitely. Brian, good stuff, man. Good stuff. You're learning. You keep reading that CCNA book, man. You're doing good stuff, and dude, you're gonna be good to go.
I appreciate it.
All right, guys. You guys have a great rest of your week, and see you next week. Well, see you after the holidays. So see you in 2022.
All right, take it easy.
Nope.
Yep.
All right,
Impromptu.
There might be, but no Wednesdays until the probably the second January, the second week in January.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right, guys. Later.
All right.